Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome back, guys. I hope that everybody enjoyed a great weekend and the end of the month of May. We're in the final third of Q2, which is honestly pretty insane to believe, but hey, here we are. Bitcoin's trading at $104,000, obviously kind of a big battleground for bulls versus bears. Equity markets pretty much flat on the day. So I think we'll probably get some more clarity throughout this week. Rest assured, we will be here to discuss it with all of you guys while we're live. But I'm Tommy. You guys also know me as Snorlax. I'm joined by Chef Jackus, Louis, and of course, Max. Welcome to you guys. I hope we had a great weekend, guys. It was nice and sunny outside where I am. So yeah, it was just a very pleasant weekend. Got my mind off the charts a little bit, which is something that I always tell people to do, but I don't actually do myself. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, before I can get into Bitcoin waffling around 104K, equities are flat, but ETH Bitcoin is green, right? So I think we've probably set the stage for some interesting narratives this week, if nothing else. I'm going to ask if you guys can slam that like button for us. And I mean, I can't even remember the last time that we showed you guys soybeans. So maybe you get it, maybe you don't. But we're always appreciative when you guys hit the like button, when we don't have to look at soybeans, when we can just look at some of our favorite assets instead. And we would all be very highly appreciative if you could hit the like button, right? Because you help us continue to grow our channel and ultimately continue to reach more and more viewers. But yeah, let's get into the specificities of of this week, right? I mean, I've said it twice already, but Bitcoin is kind of just waffling around 104K. I mean, if you just kind of look at the structure, you can see the importance. We're kind of sitting on the consolidation that we formed throughout, I would say, like basically the majority of May, right? I know we've had all of these James Wynn shenanigans. You know, is he long? Is he short? Is he going to get liquidated? How in the hell did he find more collateral under the couch cushions? Who is James Wynn? Who cares? Probably all questions we've asked ourselves over the last few weeks. And I think the choppiness of Bitcoin's price action is more or less kind of representative of all of those questions put together, right? Does it even matter? Who knows? What we can respect ultimately is the market structure of Bitcoin. Like I said, we can see the importance of this level, you know, basically a retest of the previous all-time high. And, you know, using that structure for the majority of May as support. But, you know, it's a long weekly candle. I kind of think that we're going to do some fishing for liquidity this week, whether that's down then up or up then down. I am expecting quite a fair bit of volatility. I think we have Jerome Powell speaking this week, maybe today, actually.
Tuesday.
It is today. So we get to hear from Jerome Powell. Maybe it's nothing burger. Oh, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. We hear from Jerome Powell tomorrow.
We cannot hear you, Max, by the way, still.
We'll hear what he has to say. But yeah, I mean,
you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah.
There's a rumor of a friend texted me. There's a rumor floating around X. I have not looked into it. I don't know if it has legs to stand on. There's a rumor floating around X that he's going to be resigning.
Okay.
Really? There's a rumor. A friend texted me, and I found some tweets talking about it, but I don't know what it's really based off of or anything. But it was being speculated on. I don't really think it's going to happen, but
Polymarket bet.
I'm just gossiping. That's all.
I wonder if we can speculate on this on Polymarket yet. Well, we have that floating around, which could be a catalyst for equities. I mean, we'll see, right? I think it's a long week. Gold is up 2.5%.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I was trying to look it up on Polymarket, and there is a poll saying, "What will Powell say during June press conference?" And 96% is for "Good afternoon."
That's free money, by the way. That's free money.
What are we seeing in the markets today, guys? Because I mean, prices might be a little bit flat as a whole. I mean, we're seeing some altcoin drainage. gold up a little bit. I think it's probably still too early this week to decipher what exactly we're going to get.
Well, I was talking about this like 10 minutes ago with our Discord community on the pre-market call, but I think that IBIT paints a really interesting picture. The structure of IBIT is different than that of just like the spot Bitcoin chart. I view this very much so as like IBIT had a breakout. You can see it here. You got to look at the boomer ETFs for some signal as well. They're a huge influence on this market. That, you know, is obviously new as of like a year ago, a little bit more than a year and a half ago. But structurally it's significant, right? So I'm looking at this through a bit more of an optimistic lens, or like cautiously optimistic, where I say we have a pretty clear invalidation level on like this being a breakout. Looking at the IBIT chart, where the spot Bitcoin chart paints a different picture because we actually made a new high over here in, you know, end of January, which IBIT didn't have. So I view this very much as like we broke out. We cannot see, we cannot see this structure. Oops, we cannot see this structure be lost here, because then I think it opens the door to, you know, if we did lose this and we had a failed breakout, then I think it opens the door to this, right? But as of right now, I think it looks totally fine, right? It looks totally fine. And some more confluence for us going higher here is, and again, I'm viewing this through more of a cautiously optimistic lens, which we'll see if it serves me well or not, is I also think that Bitcoin dominance looks, I would say, cautiously vulnerable here, right? It looks like we had a breakdown from trend. This looks like it could be a shoulder with supply overhead. I think it's early to be calling it. I think you could wait for a breakdown, but I do think that if Bitcoin dominance loses 64%, it's probably going to come at the same time as Bitcoin curling up off this low, and you're probably going to see a major rotation into altcoins, which is like we're seeing, you know, ETH stronger than Bitcoin here. But again, it is certainly early to be suggesting these things, but I'm just kind of pointing out some things that I'm looking for. You know, it looks to me like there's a potential really bullish setup for altcoins here, but it is definitely early to be calling it because, one, trying to call a Bitcoin dominance rollover is probably the most challenging thing in crypto this cycle. But also like IBIT's painting a little bit of a different picture than, you know, spot Bitcoin charts are. And I think that this trend line is worth watching. And it feels oddly familiar to that of November structurally here, right? You can see the example that I drew on the chart where we broke out diagonal across all the highs, little cluster retest, pop up, break down, retest, and then we get the leg up. And that's my hope for what we're seeing here, is that we could see, you know, Bitcoin catch a major bid, hold this level, which, by the way, sorry guys, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold here. My kid was sick and then I got it. Looking at like just Bitcoin here, Bitcoin spot chart, I had this drawn, you know, we were going over this pre-market, but this is your IBIT high, you know, diagonal across the highs. This black line here is your previous highest monthly close for Bitcoin. So if we go to the monthly chart, you can see this was your previous highest monthly close. So big level. This blue box is your, you know, your IBIT trend across the highs. So again, cautiously optimistic that, you know, we are at a very, very big level here. We got our IBIT trend right here. So your boomer trend right here. We're above our highest monthly close for Bitcoin. And structurally it certainly looks similar to that of November. So I'm leaning optimistic, right? I'm leaning optimistic. If we start to lose like 100, I think we go fishing. I think we go a lot lower. But I think as of right now, fork in the road, I see reasons to be optimistic, but cautiously.
Yeah, I would say in totality, I'm still optimistic for, you know, I didn't trademark it, but joyful June. I kind of think we're going to get a joyful June and we end up fishing for liquidity. Some of these breakout longs. I mean, the fact that they have, I think, you know, we've kind of gotten this retest on Bitcoin, but we haven't really had, I wouldn't say that we've necessarily tested the conviction of longs yet, but we've given them plenty of time to fill, which kind of makes me feel like contextually, either we're getting a very sharp and sudden reversal from this pivot right here. We're probably going to go fishing later this week and get a sharp reversal from probably there. You know, I don't really know what level for Bitcoin necessarily, but I'm interested in ETH longs. I mean, ETH Bitcoin is very green today. I'm not longing at current prices, but I do think, you know, dips for ETH realistically over the next, you know, probably over the course of this week, let's be honest. I don't really think we can continue like this chop and bleed pattern, given that I'm not in the, you know, the summer crab arc that a lot of people, I think, want to be after an exhausting first half of this year. But I do think that ETH will probably be the leader from a performance standpoint off this next low. I am not really interested in longing it here, but if it goes, you know, hey, it goes.
Tommy, I have a quick question for you. Sorry to interject here. Have you seen any change in the options data that you've been watching, or is it still basically the same as last week?
No, it's the same. I would say you typically see like pretty rigid positioning for the end of a quarter. Maybe on like a month by month basis, it could fluctuate a little bit more, but I think there's still that optimism for the end of the quarter.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, what's the most crowded strike right now, higher up?
Let me see.
Was it like 120 or 130 for end of June or something like that?
For June 27th, the highest strike is 110 and the second highest is 300. Now,
sorry, what do you say? 300
is 300. I've repeatedly said I don't think we're going to 300 in June. I don't think that's
you said 110.
Realistic. Well, yeah, 110 and then 300, and the third highest is 120. So I do think eventually most of those options are going to close in the money, but futures are a different beast, right? We can always go fishing before higher and flush.
You mean 210, not 110.
No, 110K
is the second highest.
No, 110K is the highest. 200 is the second high. Or no, what am I saying? 300 is the second highest.
I think the 300 must be people hedging to the upside.
I think that's what it is.
And
I mean, that's an insane bet, right? I mean, I don't
think it's a bet. I think it's just people hedging the upside versus some of their shorts, maybe. And then 110K is what is the consensus amongst the market participants in the options market.
I think that's the right way to view it, honestly. Like if you're positioning for 300K in June, obviously we'd all be very happy if that happened. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think it's probably like a hedge against that right tail risk for Bitcoin. You'll probably see, I would guess, right tail hedging for the end of every quarter, just in general. So like September and December contracts will probably have similar OI for like those super far out of the money upside targets. But I think like the crux of, you know, what I want to focus on for June is, you know, like 110 to realistically like 130. The volume is super, super high. So I do think we'll get there eventually this month. But yeah, I think there's going to be shenanigans first.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's kind of interesting. And I want to know y'all's thoughts on this because, you know, I'm bullish on Bitcoin and realistically, I could see it dipping, you know, maybe like 5, 6, 7% from here. But what that would do to some altcoins is kind of difficult for me to reconcile at the same time, right? Like it's one of those things. Are we going to let altcoins kind of dictate where Bitcoin eventually puts the bottom in because they've been bleeding out relentlessly? Or are we just going to, you know, have to bet more on Bitcoin dominance perhaps later in June? I think it's, but at the same time, you know, ETH has looked very, very strong. So I feel like there are a few conflicting signals in the market from that standpoint. that could signal to me, maybe we're bottoming here. It's not my expectation personally, but I think there are some signs from altcoins specifically that would point to like, well, if they're not bottoming here, then where?
Lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely conflicting, like, especially this morning, right? You're seeing ETH, show some strength this morning compared to Bitcoin, holding up nicely. We've seen alts pretty much been bleeding out for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I think it's pretty obvious that like we definitely could be setting up for like another plunge lower for Bitcoin if it happens. I don't really see. I mean, they're obviously knee-jerk reaction. Alts will take a hit, but they might have, and it depends, right? Chart by chart basis here, but likely if we do get this deeper stab for Bitcoin, I'd probably believe that, yeah, knee-jerk reaction, alts will take a hit, but I could see them bouncing back way quicker and not going as deep as people would expect if we do get that, 96, 97, 98K region for Bitcoin. I like a lot of altcoins here. I think they're at great spots, especially off the lows, right? Like whoever missed the lows, if you weren't accumulating at the lows, this is like a second opportunity where like a lot of these alts are not at the lows where they were, a month or two ago, but they've given up a good amount of that initial pump off the low. And this is like a second opportunity, in my opinion. So I don't know. We're kind of in a sticky spot here. I would agree. So we're just going to have to wait and see here. But I definitely did some buying this morning on some select altcoins. So I think we're close.
What signs are you guys seeing for altcoins here?
Mixed signals. Like Solana looks absolutely awful. Solana to me looks like it wants to rip lower. ETH has obviously been very strong. I think ETH beta versus Sol beta. We talk about markets of haves and have-nots for altcoins. Like Sol versus ETH stuff right now is, I think, such an example of that.
Solis is breaking down, by the way, and I mean truly this time.
It looks abysmal.
Listen,
This is the. I mean, it just looks this.
It's kind of funny. I was tweeting about it over the weekend. Like one of the reasons I'm optimistic that ETH makes new highs in June is because I'm so bearish on Sol ETH that my targets can only get hit if ETH is going higher, which is
I'll
kind
take
of
it.
Yeah.
This chart is breaking down. But as I always said, we need to see ETH outperformance on the upside, not when things are going down and ETH being relatively not so weak. I still think it comes with ETH above 4K. We will have to wait for it a little bit. I think it's coming. But right now it's still ETH just not being so weak. But this chart to me is truly breaking down.
And Jack, his question for you on this chart, if you go back to last cycle's all-time high to the left, do you think that that's a level that could potentially save it, or you think it's just there's no saving this chart at this point?
No, I don't think there is.
Pretty much there already.
But wait, let me.
It's basically added. I mean, it could go down a little bit more, but I mean, it's. And by the way, I'm not suggesting it's going to be saved because I actually think it looks terrible, and it goes along with what Tommy was just saying of like my bias for ETH is higher. ETH dominance looks good. ETH BTC looks good. Bitcoin dominance looks heavy. I feel like it's all pointing to one direction here. The only thing that I'm in conflict about is that Sol USD looks really bad, which I don't know if it matters. Like we care more about Bitcoin, right? But for directionality, we need the Sol ETH to break down off the back of everything rising, but Sol not rising as much. So
this was
new paradigm.
This was my take. Seems like end of or Q3 2024 was that we were still trending bullishly here, and you would really need to break this level to go down here. I think this level is getting hit, but the market will want to bait you out still, and it has. it proceeded this upside, but now to me it's finally breaking down. I think this was a slightly different situation. So like you might want to, some people would want to say you need to wait for a breakdown of this level, and I agree. But I kind of think it's really coming, because this is a clear uptrend that has been broken here, and I think it's not just on the ETH pair, but also on the BTC pair, and they're gonna go both in confluence. And I think that this is the target pretty much, if not lower down here. But I'll go with this one now. So yeah, I suppose the only reason kind of you would want to hold Sol right now is if you are into the trenches. Yeah.
The trenches
So
are
Jackus,
like,
I'm sorry, Tommy. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the trenches are like that island in the Odyssey, like with the Lotus Eaters. They're trying to keep you there, but I don't think I don't think there's any opportunity actually in the Sol trenches anymore. I just think it sounds sexy to make it seem like you're grinding in the Sol trenches, when in reality it's just a bunch of KOLs taking your money now.
In reality,
it is. It is. But keep in mind that even Pepe has outperformed pretty well, while ETH BTC has been down only, right? So I think there can still be coins and Sol trenches or on Sol that will do well, even while Sol BTC trends down for some time now. So yeah, but I think it is.
So Jackus, you're bearish on Sol right now locally. You're bearish on Sol ETH, obviously, looking at this chart. You're still expecting a deeper dive for majors.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through some levels that you're looking at for Sol USD to go to, which of course then let's extrapolate that out. If Sol USD gives you what you are expecting for lower, what do you think that means for ETH USD and Bitcoin USD?
Well, I think BTC and ETH USD both look incredibly bullish from the macro perspective. I do think they have some local technical correction, of course, that has already started, and I think there is more to it. But BTC is going to be pretty all right day. ETH should be pretty all right too. Not expecting that much more downside, and the rotation is clearly going right now towards ETH, probably at last. But obviously, until the consensus and mindshare kind of catches up onto it, it will take time. Just like for Sol, it really took. If you're gonna look, it really took lots of time for Sol mindshare to kind of catch on. Nobody really talked about it here, nor pretty much here. It really was in here, and mainly in here, when Sol was like catching. Everyone's been playing on Sol, so I think that time is coming. Obviously, Sol does look like it does look like in 2022 here, but I don't think it's at the same area. I don't think it heads to a new bear market. Not obviously, the only reason or the only way Sol would be going into some kind of bear market like this is when literally everything goes into a bear market. You're looking at 2029 style of recession, which isn't my base case at all. But I think, again, BTC is going to pull back, ETH is going to pull back, and Sol USD will pull back here further. Then all will go up. It's just that Sol USD will be dragged up by Bitcoin and ETH, of course, or just generally like risk on period. It will just not go up as much, and it will take time to flip certain levels. I think it's going to go big again this cycle, but only at the end of it, probably. Locally, I would be looking for some type of this move and then higher up.
What is that, like 135 or something? I can't see it exactly. 125?
Yeah, you can be thinking like 140, 125-ish, something like that, generally, is what I would be expecting here from Sol.
Yeah. I mean, if Sol ETH is going into like 0.05 and ETH goes into even like 2200, 2250, that's a very steep correction for Solana USD from here.
It would be, yeah.
I just feel like there is a fundamental reason to this more than there is technical. It's just the fact that the trenches has been used to the max to extract the liquidity from all market participants to the full. Like one of our team members, Nick, or sorry, not team members, group members, was telling me that like through the weekend, there's been alts that mega pumped, right? And I was like looking at like stuff like Sol, Pepe, you know, Fartcoin and Bitcoin, Ether, you know, basically the coins that we look at. And I was like, wait, what mega pumped? And then he was like, well, maybe not like the majors, but like, you know, coins sub 100 million market cap, you know. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I suppose some pumped. And I think that this is very representative of the market, that, you know, like the market was totally squeezed into an absolutely super low and tiny market cap coins, because everyone is just looking for the thousands of X's nowadays to win the lottery in the trenches, as it is pushed by people on social media. You know, they keep selling this dream, and I'm not saying it's not possible, right? Like at this, like you can win in lottery too, right? It's not impossible. It's just that, you know, it's most likely not going to be you. That's the reality. And so I think the market has been pushed into a corner here from Sol. Mass value extraction has happened, as it's been PvP. And, you know, if you're gonna read or listen to most people who's been into the Sol trenches, they've lost money over the past year or two. And I think the extraction has come to an end. The rest of the market, who are not gamblers, are not there. They are not coming there anymore. And the rest that's been there, again, that they've been extracted, right? And they have no money left, pretty much. So you would need, and by the way, another fundamental reason, most people's checks that they received after COVID, or the money that they had on the side, you know, being given, saved up or something, all of that has been drained to zero, or not even zero, but below zero, as lots of people have been maxing out credit cards in the US. There are good stats for it. So I think there's more fundamental reason for this chart breaking than just the technical here. I again think there has been a massive value extraction from most crypto participants.
Well, there's no debating the extraction that's occurred for the Solana trenches. I guess just the big debate when you're looking at a chart like this is like, do we just see this flight to quality, or like a flight to ETH finally?
Yes.
Or do we see the entire market plunge? Because Sol USD, by the way, has been a leader this entire cycle. Like when Sol USD starts pumping, there was a period of time when Sol USD was leading the market. Like it was moving even before Bitcoin, it seemed like. It was like your risk on barometer. So it's definitely possible, given how this chart looks, that like we are in a entirely new regime where Sol USD really is giving no signal at all now. But the Sol pairs, Sol versus other L1 pairs, are telling us, hey, we're going to go risk on. It's just not going to be Sol dominated again. So
I think it makes sense because, again, from a fundamental side of things, right, the prior administration was all about mass regulation, mass stopping anything crypto related. SEC has appealed every single crypto project out there, and any that it hasn't, they were just scared that they were going to do so. And so what it has created was actually this huge demand for Sol and Sol trenches, where people said, like, you know, none of this fundamental stuff is going to produce anything. And rightfully so, because again, anything fundamental just got appealed by SEC. They just simply stopped this whole space for the past years. And so people said, all right, nothing ever matters. You know, it's all just funny internet tokens. and let's just bet on a funny name. And that's been going on for the past 2 years. And it's not really been new money coming into the market. Of course, there's been some, but speaking in general, and it's more been again just PvP extraction from one side to the other until like you might have win here, the other party there, but since they are all gambling addicts, they essentially lost it. So you win once, you maybe twice, but then you lose it. And this has been going, and the only extractors have been those that created those memes, pumped them, and then were dumping pretty much. That's been the reality. But now I think the conditions are changing for the entire space, where this administration or whatever, right, the people behind, that doesn't matter, are coming in. They are setting in the stablecoin regulation. They are clearly telling you, hey, stablecoins, this is where everything's going to go. We are setting in a crypto-friendly environment now, and I think this will cause the rotation back to fundamentals. As you have heard it before, and it made no sense, I think it's going to make sense from here because of this very reason. And again, the value extraction from Sol, I think that has come to an end. I think it's been extracted. And I think it's going to come, by the way. I think it's going to come again, but at the end of the cycle, when you'll have mass mania, when people are rich again and they have money to gamble again. So I think it's going to take like a year or two before we will see. It's hard to predict the timing, but I think we will see mass mania and mass gambling again, just not like in this next leg.
That's a good thing, though. And we've talked about this. Obviously, you need Bitcoin and ETH specifically to appreciate before people start to really move down the risk curve.
Yeah.
I remember back, it's probably a few months ago. Do you guys remember joking when we were saying that how fitting it would be for Sol BTC and Sol ETH to be topped, given the context that crime was now legal? How fitting that would be. And in hindsight, it seems like I want to say that those were the tops. If not the top, I mean, I think Sol ETH might have created another high from the whole Trump coin liquidity vacuum. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, we are unironically seeing a paradigm shift back to quality. And I think it makes sense that we see it to ETH for a variety of reasons, but really the biggest one that I'm going to highlight, somebody already mentioned it in the comments, is the stablecoin growth. That growth is likely going to happen on the rails of Ethereum. And, if that capital comes into crypto, it's probably going to find its way into DeFi. So
indeed,
I think that those two things are going to serve as tailwinds for Ethereum ultimately.
By the way, someone making this comment, Pepe is fundamentally the best meme coin. Do you remember me like 2 years ago or something saying fundamentally sound meme coin? And everyone laughed at me like, what is he waffling about?
I just call them the Lindy memes. Pepe's one. I think there may be one or two on Solana that I won't mention. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want to offend anybody's bags. I think there are a handful of like actually good internet memes that will end up, catching a bid again. But one of the things that I mentioned on X, I feel like we've hit peak dilution from the standpoint of like, yeah, I'm going to spin up a new meme coin and it's going to run to 9 figures. Everybody is still on that wave. I don't think that this market is really, at least not on Solana, it's not really geared to do that anymore. I think we have memes that already exist and you have to pick your winners now.
Yes, I absolutely agree. The dilution has hit its peak. It's sort of like when you go into like basically it's no different from fiat, right? When fiat goes through first it goes through inflation, then it goes through a big inflation and then through hyperinflation, basically. But at a certain point, it doesn't matter if you print another, billion or not. It just like doesn't matter. People just, kind of use it as in Weimar Germany to burn, they burn the paper to heat themselves up, through the paper currency, basically. Like literally, that's what happened. And I think crypto in this sense with the launch of all these memes, like there's been thousands of coins being launched every single day with different names, and I think it has reached that peak. I think where just every possible ticker you could have think of has been launched, and now all of that is going to come to a deflation where the dilution is going to be coming back into deflation and chasing stuff that the market will deem to have some value, whether it's speculative or fundamental.
For the best.
For the best.
And
Finally.
that deflation, I think, will best be signified by the Sol ETH pair coming down. I had a similar level as you marked out, Jackus, to the 0.03s. And I don't think this is going to replicate an ETH BTC style move, or rather Sol BTC is going to replicate an ETH BTC style move. But, I think I almost feel like, do you think that this pair is representative of the strength in others, or do you think that they're correlated at all?
Sorry, once again.
Would you kind of equate Sol ETH strength to others in any way, or do you think they're just kind of separate? Because I feel like when we start to see Sol ETH outperforming again, we likely see others outperforming as well. They're not exactly the same. I'm thinking from like a context standpoint.
Yeah, like I see where that thought is coming from, and I think there could be something to it. But at the same time, in others index, you have lots of coins, which are outside of top 10 that aren't necessarily just gambling coins, and I think they'll do well. So in that sense, I think others will do better sooner than Sol ETH chart.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's important from all this conversation is to where to look to now, right? Like for the last year and a half, it's been, Sol led off the market lows, but went on a massive run. You had all this fun on Sol Chain, but that's really not indicative of a true bull market, in my opinion. What's indicative of a true crypto bull market is ETH leading the market. So you have Sol BTC looking topped. You have ETH BTC looking pretty much bottomed. I'd love to see ETH lead, right? Because when you have ETH lead, that's indicative of a healthy, normal crypto bull run, in my opinion. And I think that's what we're seeing. And just like, I don't know if it was Jackus or Tommy said, the Sol's always going to be here. Sol's going to continue to go up, in my opinion. I don't see Sol having some drastic drop. But that should come later, right? Towards the end. A healthy bull market doesn't start with, what we've seen. A healthy bull market starts with ETH, your biggest layer one asset other than Bitcoin, leading the way, leading the charge. So what does that mean? To me, that means keep your eye on tokens on ETH, right? Or look for other chains, right? I think a great contender is Hyperliquid. I've seen a couple people throw in the comments Sui or something. Hyperliquid to me looks like the next Sui, almost identical now, sitting at right above its old all-time high, right? That's where I'm looking, right? There's a couple meme coins on Hype I think have potential to go do amazing things, right? And it's kind of a highly underrated thing. Props to Tommy for pointing that out, right? That's what kind of the message is. It's not we're just here talking about, Sol Bitcoin pair just because we don't like Sol. The message is the market's transitioning from one thing being the hot ball of money. That hot ball of money is likely going somewhere else, likely ETH, right? ETH meme coins we've seen do well, but they haven't really reached their true potential, in my opinion. You want to see ETH lead the altcoin market, plain and simple, full stop. I think that's a healthy sign for the markets. And I think that's what will give us a true quote unquote altcoin season, whatever you want to call it, which we've all been waiting for, right? Everyone's like, Bitcoin's doing great. ETH did okay. Oh, but Sol did really good. And sure, you had a couple runners on Sol, but can we not get a sustained rally? I think that's because ETH hasn't been leading yet, but I think we're in the process of ETH starting to take the lead. And once we see that, that'll be super healthy for altcoins. So I'm sized in on altcoins on ETH. Pick your poison, right? I'm sized in on altcoins on other chains like Hyperliquid, right? Kind of missed Hyperliquid at the lows, almost had it, but I'm looking on chain Hyperliquid, right? It's kind of that same beta play that we all kind of look for. Maybe Sonic, right? Maybe Sonic makes a comeback. That's a little more of a rebranding from what was it? FTM, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So is it new?
Such a funny
not
story, man.
really. Yeah, not really, but I'm sure it could do decent, right? So the message is you should be looking for opportunities in the altcoin market. I just think it's a general consensus here on stage here that we just don't think it's in soul right now, right? And there probably will be a time where that changes, that's kind of the message, right? It's not just here to talk. We're saying this, but the message is you should be looking elsewhere, right? And I gave a couple of examples. So just wanted to drive that home there.
If ETH is coming back, I don't think you could take it as a clear sign from the market, or like you couldn't take a more clear signal that the market is trying to shift towards bidding fundamentals.
Right.
Which
it should really start with fundamentals.
You would think, right? We're in the most speculative asset class, but there are fundamentals that exist. We've kind of like memed that concept into, I think we've almost like kind of done the space a disservice because we psyop many people into thinking that there isn't actually anything, fundamentally useful being built here. I think that's not exactly true.
That's totally untrue.
See that with Bitcoin, right? Like this whole Bitcoin cycle has been an institutional one.
If you were talking about fundamentals a year and a half ago, you were laughed out of the room, right? And it was something I was talking about. And sure, it's taken a little longer to come to fruition, but it didn't make sense. And now we're seeing the repercussions of that, right? We've seen the last 6 months of price action is repercussions of the market not, it's kind of like building a house, right? Like you build it on sand, you're fucked. It's going to crumble, right? You got to have a nice foundation, right? Nice fundamental foundation. And when those get rolling and those people start pulling profits from that, and that hot ball of money gets larger and larger, then you go out and you gamble on all these other things. That's the healthy life cycle of an altcoin season. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin needs to lead, or else ETH and altcoins ain't doing shit, right? Bitcoin needs to go up. People need to appreciate gains in Bitcoin. They need to take profits in Bitcoin at some point, and then turn around and look down the risk curve of where they want to churn their profits, right? It works the same way in altcoin land, right? It's just another kind of segment where, okay, that happened. Now we need people going to ETH. ETH needs to run. Once ETH starts running, people need to churn profits into ETH on chain, and then that leads to other chains. And then you have a fundamental kind of hot ball of money moving in the right direction, the right way. We kind of just skipped all the way to the end first. It's like we started the cycle, Bitcoin started running, and everyone just started trading NFTs, right? If you were here last cycle, NFTs were the meme coins. It's like, oh, Bitcoin's running. Let's go screw all the other, fundamental tokens. They don't do anything. They're vaporware. Let's just go trade NFTs. And you kind of skip the life cycle where NFTs were the ending of the last cycle, right? You get totally to the other side of the risk curve at the end of the cycle where people are trading NFTs, making millions of dollars on digital JPEGs. Like it's a joke, right? So that's kind of what happened. So, and the market will eventually solve itself in a way, right? Eventually the market, sure, you'll have time periods where things get skewed one way or the other, but the market, a free market, has a great way of kind of coming back to the norm, reversion to the mean, and rooting out what should and should not happen. Sure, you have those extremes in between, but I think we're getting there. And I really like ETH BTC. I like ETH strength over the last couple of weeks. ETH reclaiming massive market structure, holding up beautifully. Sure, we can get a slight 5, 6, 7% pullback in the near term, if that even happens. But that should not be worrying you here. your main concern here, in my opinion, should be finding opportunities. Sure, some fundamentals, sure, some higher cap memes. Let the ball get rolling, and then you roll your money into other stuff. Because I see it time and time again. People just want to look for the highest return, and that's it. And people are continuing to get burned, right? But if you kind of gave yourself a foundation, some fundamentals, some high cap memes, and then you took the rest of your portfolio and played in, low cap land, you're still surviving. You're still here to live to fight another day for when the real cycle's coming, which I think is now. But if you were just like, okay, all this is happening, gotta find the highest risk beta on the riskiest chain, and I don't care what it is or who launched it or what, you skipped the real way to do things, and that's why your portfolios are crumbling. And I see it time and time again, and it's not even like it sucks. I hate to see that. And then people leave crypto. It's like it's sad to see, but I think nature is finally healing in a sense, and I think that we're setting up for the real thing.
Do you guys see any parallels between what's happened on Sol to the NFT craze in 2021 on ETH? I do. I don't think they're nearly as big, well, maybe it was, but rather I don't really view it as being at the same point that NFTs occurred within that market cycle. But I do think that I personally find a lot of parallels between the Solana trench bubble and the NFT bubble that we saw in 2021. Like, I remember Zach XBT, that was, he would report back on some NFT scammer, and it was somebody new every week that I'd never heard of. And now with the Sol trenches, it's kind of the same thing. It's a new scammer I haven't heard about every other week, but it's ultimately the same cabal. And they're like moths. The participants are like moths to a flame. At a certain point, you have to blame scammers because they are who they are, but you also need to know not to be putting your money in. You need to have some level of discretion, I think, right? Because the NFTs that were getting rugged in 2021, they were complete dog crap. And it was so obvious that they were dog crap, and yet people would lose millions of dollars betting on them. And I think the same thing is true with these.
How much profits I left, like I burned away chasing NFTs towards the end of the cycle. It's like, that's what happens, right? And people will do that again. I'm sure Sol's going to keep doing his thing, and people are going to, but towards the end of the cycle, if we do get this, this big run, towards the end of the cycle, there will be something, whether it's meme coins, maybe NFTs come back, who knows, but there'll be something. And everything will just be so euphoric, and there'll be so much money sloshing around. People are going to burn a lot of gains.
You know what the biggest parallel working off of that I've noticed is that last cycle with NFTs, talking about the level of grift and theft and just extraction that occurred with NFTs. Remember, everyone that had a famous video like that Charlie Bit Me video sold, everyone who had a viral video sold an NFT of it, for buku bucks. This cycle, what we're seeing is every celebrity, is launching a meme coin. I think it's a great parallel, right? Yeah. It's just value extraction framed a little bit differently. It's the exact same concept, though.
And I feel like at a certain point, Max, people just need to develop some discretion with their own capital, right? I think there's a lot of people caught up in a dream that's been sold to them that they're going to get rich in the Sol trenches, and that if you don't have a large bankroll, you have to gamble on Sol. And I think that's crappy. And I'll bring it back to the NFT. Yeah. I basically completely faded the NFT bubble, not because I didn't think that, it would do well. I just didn't feel like I had any edge in it. And I did great in the second half of 2021. So you don't even need to be participating in, these shenanigans to make a lot of money. 2021 showed us there's opportunity everywhere, but people are going to gravitate towards obviously the more glorified space where they think they see a lot of people who are similar to them making money, when in reality it's just a very small number of people. It's a cabal. I don't know if you guys saw, but Frank DeGods is back, and the person who claimed that they were catching all these runners on stream is back, and of course they caught the same shitcoin sub 100K market cap, and yeah, I mean it's just like it's the
They
same.
always get in
every
so
week.
early. They're so lucky. Wow.
it's the same thing every week, and people haven't caught on. Like they're blaming the scam. I think at a certain point you have to stop blaming the scammers and blame the people who are allocating capital to these tokens.
Yep.
True.
Yeah.
Like the Hawk
Like
Tua.
Yeah, like Jack has said this morning, it's like this whole James Wynn, nonsense going on. It's like,
Yeah.
is it
Dude,
really
that's
his
crazy.
fault, or is it the fact that everyone just gives it so much attention it becomes a thing? Like
Dude, what's so crazy is like he's asking for donations now, and like Andrew Tate is like shouting him out, and like CZ Binance is like replying to him on Twitter, and I'm like, what is happening right now? What is going on?
What do you guys think about that, by
Yeah.
the way? The fact that CZ is responding to that account, an Alameda funded wallet. My tinfoil hat is like ringing. I just can't put together what's happening.
Tommy, you
I
tell
saw-
me, man. You tell me.
I saw CZ talking this weekend about like obviously it was clearly direct. I didn't see that he actually added James Wynn, but I saw him tweet, and it was obviously related to that whole fiasco. And he was like, yeah, like there's obviously a need for like a pretty much like a dark pool DEX in crypto where you can't get hunted and your large orders aren't seen. I mean, this could just be setting up. Like I feel like it's a giant psyop settings for something. It's setting up for something. In my opinion.
Man who made billions of dollars arbing the lack of transparency in crypto would like you to know
like
that
he's
he prefers no transparency.
ridiculous. So
Guys, have you
ridiculous.
heard about tokenized exchange?
No.
No.
Why does that chart look so good though, Jackus? What are
The
you,
chart
what are
looks
you
good.
showing me?
The chart looks good. I have never heard of it. I was just going through like market cap of coins, from the bottom to the from the top to the bottom, and I don't know, stumbled across this one which is rank 52, and I'm like, how's this rank 52 and I never heard of it?
That's 52nd.
52nd, yeah, by my.
Have you guys heard of Pi Network? Because I hadn't heard of that either, and apparently it's like top 25 by market cap.
Is it? I mined a crap ton
I know.
of that, but
It reminds
never,
me of like Hex a little bit, where I mean I'd still heard about Hex, but Hex went into wasn't it like the top 10 at one point by FDV or circulating market cap, and I think so many people just wrote that off as a complete scam that they actually missed the chance to make decent money on it.
no, the worst part about it is that Richard Hart convinced all those people, like his hexicans, to lock all their money up.
His
too.
hexicans, bro. What?
That's what they're called.
What did you just say? Is hexicans?
The Church of
They had
Richard
a
Hart.
name. Yeah. And apparently got away with it, right? His charges got dropped too, I think, right?
That's a crazy name. A hexican. Imagine being like, I'm a hexican, bro.
And proud.
You're kidding me. You have to be making that up. There's no way that's real.
I think it's a thing. I don't know if the chat knows, but
Louis.
I'm pretty sure I've heard that term thrown around.
I know
Oh
I've definitely heard that used before. He's not making that up.
I don't
Bro,
make
that
shit
is
up.
What
insane.
is that? Mantle?
Mental.
that's a
I've heard of
EWF
Mantle.
token.
Yeah,
Are
I've
you
heard of
mental? Like, are you fucking mental?
That came out right. The best thing that you can possibly do if you're a team trying to max extract is to launch your token right after a huge VC scam runs. Like TIA, I remember Celestia ran, and then you got Mantle, you got a handful of others that did basically nothing, but a bunch of people bid them because everybody who missed Celestia was like, I have to catch the next one.
Mhm. How is VeChain still rank 58? I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised.
Good old vet.
There is like scrolling through the top 50 right now. There, you have few OG coins, but mostly it's just like stable coins, or it's exchange tokens, or some VC scam. Very little coins in top 50 that actually like are worth of anything.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they get replaced, but time will tell.
Like I can only see Pepe, Aave, and maybe Tao and Uni, and those are, all of these four are between ranks 30 and 40. Apart from this, just like bunch of like Bitcoin Cash, man, or and then exactly like Telegram coin, you have Bitfinex coin, you have all these alt, like what the fuck is Shiba Inu doing still at 22 rank?
People are bullish on Ton, I think, right now. I don't know why. I want to say there's some sort of like news coming on it.
Ton. Yeah, well, it would make sense because you're kind of like, coming back to the
Didn't they lock him up?
demands. So
Didn't they lock up like the Telegram CEO or something, or was that just like short lived?
They did. I think he's released though. So I was just reading. I guess there's a rumor that Telegram will combine with Grok on the 6th and 7th.
That's bullish.
Yeah. You won't catch me buying Ton necessarily, but maybe if price goes up, opportunity.
I mean, the market's going to choose something. I mean, Ton's a relatively new token, for this cycle.
It's kind of like WorldCoin in the sense that it's already like a massive FDV waiting for somebody to bid it.
Yeah.
But I think I want to say the WorldCoin float is like way worse, way more predatory than Ton. WorldCoin might have like a 50 or $100 billion FDV actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
WorldCoin.
It's only 11.5. I thought it used to be like 50 at one point.
Oh, it's rank 66. I see.
Just wrecked all coin charts, man.
Wait, did Matic rebrand as well?
Poll.
Yeah. Okay.
New chart to sell.
New chart to sell. Oh man,
I really miss trading Matic. I'll be honest.
Let's compare. Okay, so not much difference.
Is that to Sonic?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. My fear with Sonic is that it looks an awful lot like Celestia did before it legged down again.
Mm-hmm. What is Celestia doing these days?
Probably giving some reversion higher soon, maybe.
The thing is that there are still, all the VCs, they can still be selling at $1 and still be in profit.
I think
but they're going to scam it higher in the right environment. That's the thing.
I think this will probably just be up 100% randomly one day, and then you don't want to touch it again for like a year.
They know that when liquidity does, if and when it does return, which I think it will, but it's all about the timing of it. Like we talked about, like launching a coin, the timing of launching a token or whatever. Like when the time is right, Bitcoin's in price discovery. Once again, ETH is approaching 4K, 5K. People are gonna bid that stuff again. And they know that. So like, sure, they can keep dumping and bleeding the chart, but eventually it makes more sense for them to let it run. You know what I mean? And we've seen that last cycle. Like, and that's another thing. Like, it's like, okay, VC scam, sure, right? Float, sure, whatever. All those tokens that had that last cycle still did 10, 20, 30 X's before, massive pullbacks. So like, just because they're bleeding now, eventually it makes more sense to let the token run, create excitement. The liquidity's back in crypto. these things will come off the lows. Like Jackers has shown a bunch of charts. And I know it's like, oh, who would buy this? This looks like shit. That looks like shit. A lot of them I'm not buying, but buying the right ones, like these are charts that I look to buy. You're buying something that's at a floor, hopefully, that'll eventually turn around, you know? So I know it's like, yeah, they're going to keep dumping. They're going to keep dumping. Eventually, it makes more sense for them to actually get a real run out of their token and make real money. You know, I don't know. That's how I look at it, in my opinion.
I think it's hard to pick. I agree with you, Louis. I think it's hard to pick the timing, right, on a lot of these charts. Like my difficulty allocating capital to charts that look like this is, I do feel at some point they're going to run. It's just a matter of, you know, how much time is it going to take before you actually get a pump on it again, and that opportunity cost of tethering up capital. You know, and I'm not saying I would ever buy like a Filecoin, for example, but I know what you mean by floored charts. Shout out to Dr. Outlook with the floored charts. Yeah, I think it's just like, who knows when the timing of a lot of these coins is going to pop off again. And I think one thing that has been like kind of a blessing and a curse in the current market, right? I mean, we all think the market will find this altcoin eventually. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I think this cycle has definitely been, I think, an exercise in patience for when the market actually will. If it will, right?
This market has basically been, I don't even want profits. I just want to go back to break even.
But when we find a winner, we all pile in, right? We all hold hands and ride up the comet together.
Yeah.
We pile in at the top.
If the Arbitrum chart didn't look so bad, I mean, the fact that you have all of these futures dexes building on it would actually make me somewhat bullish.
Yeah. Yeah, like you would tend to think that, hey, if, you know, hype is going on Arbitrum, hey, you know, shouldn't that be bullish, Arbitrum? Yes, but you need price supporting it.
Slowly but surely, this will get diluted enough that I actually think it might become a buy.
Just massive falling wedge.
Yeah, but the thing is that with some of these coins, like I agree, but you might get something like this, and then it's sort of like this with, you know.
But what does it look like on the market cap, Jackus?
It is rank 68 with a.
No, I mean, like, what does the chart look? The market cap chart.
Oh, that's a fair point. Hopefully we can find. Oh, maybe we cannot. Yeah,
get on USD, might sort it out or filter it out.
Yeah, there is only the USD chart, so I would have to go with this one.
Yeah, they don't have it, do they?
They don't have it on TradingView, but actually there is this one regarding market cap.
Wow, so it basically double topped on market cap.
Yeah,
that's the issue with these things, man.
What price has been half of it?
I almost wonder if we're gonna get some like crazy bull run on these VC coins in another few years after they've kind of like diluted themselves out.
Indeed, right? That would be like most of it is gone of the dilution, or like, you know, the coins are now fully diluted at some point, and they actually have a use case and it could run. Yeah, that's a good point. Well,
how's Aave looking? Speaking of use case.
Yes, I'm surprised we haven't mentioned that yet.
I'm not mentioning my backs as much. because I like them hidden under the radar.
You're not a good KOL, Jackus, if you don't shill your own bags.
He's fudding everybody else's bags so that he can prop up his at the end.
Yeah. Sneaky.
I know that people will pump AF regardless, or people, institutions. So AF is looking amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's...
I feel like you're going to get a bunch of people who will hype up bidding things like CRV, probably even Maker at some point, and it's just going to be beta to AVE, which is probably just going to keep grinding up consistently.
Maker, I haven't looked at that one for a while.
I'm not a huge fan of that chart, but
well, it's like, you know, if you compare it to stuff like Sonic, it's, or, you know, anything, it definitely looks better.
yes.
But interesting move here. This is actually a pretty decent move today. What's going on?
People are leveling up their ETH to buy altcoins.
I will say one thing I do like about Maker is that they are pivoting. I can't remember exactly what it was. It might involve rugging some of the current holders, but I know the first thought is
What a
like,
way
oh,
to frame that
rugging holders. But I can't remember exactly what it was. Damn, I'm gonna end up like misquoting something, but it involves a change in the way that I think you're able to mint DAI, which has been a huge problem for the protocol over the last year. You've basically had people who hold way too much DAI, and they're able to hold not just the stablecoin hostage, but also Maker. So yeah, I think the rebrand will be good for this one.
It's actually deflationary, isn't it, Maker? Because
I am not familiar enough with the protocol to know.
It seems very little, but hey, here it didn't make new highs on market cap while the price has, so must be. But yeah, it's probably, you know, tiny portion.
I think unit cost will always hold Maker back. Why would I bid a, what is it priced at now, like a $1,700 token when I can just buy ETH?
Yeah, for real.
Somebody asked about SNX.
SNX?
I'm curious if any of the old DeFi charts other than AVE actually look good. I'm not bidding Curve, so don't name that one.
Why not, by the way?
On principle, I don't really like the token or the protocol, and I think it's been pretty heavily diluted too. I mean, I think the better way of phrasing it is I would rather bid AVE than I would Curve.
This
So
is
actually,
kind of...
Powell is speaking today.
Yeah, today. It's today.
30 minutes.
This is an ugly looking chart.
Yeah.
And it came home. Totally came home.
That's beyond home, brother. He got lost on his way home. He's still circling the block.
He's in the basement.
Throw it in log mode. Maybe that helps us.
Jeez.
Doesn't look that bad. The buy,
Not as
right?
bad, but still.
These are bid zones to me. Not that I'm like half of these charts I've not looked at or buying, but this is where you kind of should do business, honestly.
Let's see.
I don't know. That's how I play, but that's me.
What is even the market cap of SNX? I don't even know. Do you guys remember Alchemix? Talk about a chart that's just down only perpetually.
Which one?
ALCX.
ANC.
ALCX.
I don't think I ever heard of this one.
Yeah, it's a tragic chart. People farmed it, which is why it just dumped that hard for as long as it did, but it never really found a bottom. I guess it kind of has, but like this comment. What does EtherFi look like? We have a suggestion for that. It was one I was looking at like a week ago. Jeez.
Trying to reclaim that low there.
I mean, do you really need a DeFi basket outside of Hyperliquid and Aave?
No.
No.
It's all proven otherwise now.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling down this this list of tokens in DeFi, and maybe Jito is something to benefit but I don't think it's really a great time for
Bro, that name right there is just everything I need to know. How can you bid Jito? You could have called it anything else, man.
That's worse than zero, bro.
Plague from the beginning, bro.
And you can do it like this.
Yeah, literally.
Maybe some base DeFi could be worth a punt, but I don't know. I'm not super familiar with it.
Oh boy.
Wow. Justin Sun token is 205th largest by market cap still. That's actually pretty insane.
Speaking of that, TRX still one of the holding up the strongest lately too.
The prototypical crime coin. I love it. God, that chart is so funny.
I'm still looking for a fill of that wick.
I actually think it looks pretty good here.
It does.
Just crime.
It does.
But the thing is that there is an actual use case for Tron, which is because most of Tether stablecoin transfers are done on Tron network.
Yep.
So, but there's actually stablecoins coming to Bitcoin, and that might. And by the way, from Tether, Paulo Adroino, I'm not sure how that's pronounced. Sorry. The legend himself announced that Tether is coming to Bitcoin with stablecoins. That could be interesting. And by the way, that just gives insane amounts of use case to Bitcoin and Ordinals.
You're telling me fine art on Bitcoin could catch a bid?
Seems like.
I'm laughing through the pain.
Imagine.
Whoa.
Tether comes to Bitcoin and suddenly the use case of Tron. Or crime continues.
I think there's no way they could do that though in sudden fashion and catch Tron off guard. He's almost like there's so much tether on Tron that Justin Sun can hold it hostage, I want to say.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, I think, of 2017 BTC.
Oh my. I already see what you're getting at.
Yeah, it kind of seems like sort of here without the wick, but
yeah, it's kind of what I see playing out here. This looks
crazy
like TRX looks like it's about to enter like parabola, and no one's holding it.
Yeah, not a soul is holding TRX.
That's what I'm saying. That's
it's kind of hard to buy, right? Like You can bridge to the network and buy it, I guess, but you can't buy it on Coinbase. Can you get it on Gemini?
I don't think so. No.
Maybe Kraken. You definitely can't get it on Coinbase though.
You could trade it on Hyperliquid, but the liquidity is so bad too.
Yeah.
Just because no one's trading it. But... yeah, not on Gemini.
That looks pretty primed. I'm not gonna lie.
What else is there?
For coins?
Yeah.
XRP?
No, I mean like of course, but I meant like from the
DeFi?
no, generally from like the market cap coins that are there. You know, like going through the list, right?
Link.
Things we haven't. Yeah, but like going down below, you know, from like I'm currently at rank 75. 74. Just kind of
Going to
scroll.
find on today's episode of Market Check, we're going to find every single investable altcoin in the top 200.
QNT, Celestia. Yeah, again, there's so many like rank 71, right? Binance Spect, wrapped ETH, right? That's rank 71. Rank 70, First Digital USD. Rank 72, Jupiter Perpetual's liquidity provider token. Rank 76, KuCoin, right? Rank 77, Binance Staked Sol. Rank 78, USDT 0.
What do you think about virtual here, Jackus? Actually, two I'd like your opinion on are virtual and bonk.
Bonk. Bonk or honk? Jesus. Well, bonk will to a big degree depend on Sol, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not looking pretty, and I think this one will take lots of time. Like, you know, you'll need this and this and then something like that, and then maybe you're gonna go. So in that sense, that, you know what I mean. Probably what it reminds me of is what is that metaverse token from prior cycle? Sand, I think.
Sand?
And there's one more.
Mana?
Mana?
Oh yeah, Mana.
Sand and Mana. God, I remember trading those.
Maybe not Mana. Maybe
I
it's
think I
Sand.
caught the top on Sand for a short.
It's probably not the same, but sort of like, you know, it will probably do nothing, and then at the end it will maybe do something. Sandbox. Jesus, it's crazy how far these has come. This didn't work out.
Almost.
Not even this. Not even this. It's crazy. Like how dog shit these are. They just go down forever. There's like not even an escape pump. Mana.
Same chart, basically.
Yeah, it's just all down. Bonk. You want it virtual, right?
Yeah,
I think that
there's a lot of stuff going on virtual right now.
Oh, it's going lower first.
yeah,
Yeah.
the whole market is. I think something like this, then maybe higher.
That looks like it doesn't that kind of look like that structure Bitcoin put in off the cycle lows?
Yeah.
Wait.
In like the 20s.
I mean, sort of like this one.
A little bit.
Or the
It's not
next
quite
one.
the
Yeah,
same,
either
but
one.
it feels like chop before it goes higher.
So
Like
you'd be looking for something like this, and then boom. Shit, this one
Maybe.
was too. Yeah.
I think it was Wabi. Yeah, Wabi has been saying that he thinks AI stuff is coming back to ETH. I tend to agree.
Wait, Bob is bullish on ETH?
Wabi's bullish on AI coming back to ETH.
Okay.
You had to double take for a second there. What is this? Flare? I've seen some people mention Plume for real world assets. I don't have a ton of familiarity with the asset, but Nexo, wow.
I never heard of these.
What do you think about Pepe here, Jackets? I hate to ask right after Max left.
I think lower first and then higher, of course, kind of like ETH. Yeah, I suppose this is where we can cut it.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot.
Yeah.
If you guys could hit the like button for us on your way out, we would be very appreciative. I mean, we went through a ton of tickers today. We covered a lot of ground for a Monday. I anticipate the rest of the week we'll probably be deciphering whatever we kind of get out of out of price for the next few days. We do have Jerome Powell speaking here in I think about 15 to 20 minutes, so we'll see if we get anything there. Obviously, some rumors going around, but yeah, we appreciate you guys for being here as always. We hope that you enjoyed the stream today. Market Check will be back for another episode tomorrow at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard. And also be sure to check out Market Talk, hosted by the legendary King Wabi. That is an X-Base through our Because Bitcoin account, as well as his own personal account. So yeah, make sure to wrap up your day over there. But yeah, like I said, we hope that you guys enjoyed the stream. I'm not going to do any product chills. Instead, just wanted to talk to you guys about the BB terminal really briefly, share with you our usual commercial here to wrap up the show. But seriously, I cannot emphasize to you guys enough how useful of a product this is, and how much utility we're building out for every single style of market participant, right? That's not just, people trading futures, open interest and lower time frames. That's long-term investors looking, potentially for data-based guidance. And of course, on-chainers as well, whether that's on Sol, whether that's on ETH or any other chain, it will be your go-to tool for this cycle. And I promise you will get a significant amount of usage and usefulness ultimately out of the BB terminal. But thank you guys for tuning in. That officially concludes today's show. I'm going to show this really quick ad before we officially wrap up, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you again. And of course, stay safe.
Every morning, coffee in hand, I open up the BB terminal. We built this platform to be your trusted companion, whether you're actively trading, investing for the long haul, or even dabbling in the degen space. Let's start with the BB portfolio. It integrates with over 60 blockchain networks and supports both wallet connections and manual entries, making it flexible enough for any trader. On the active page, you'll find advanced charting tools, complete with more than 21 custom scripts to give you deeper insights. Beneath that, our intuitive heat map helps you spot key support and resistance levels easily. But we know active trading isn't everyone's style, so we created the DCA page, equipped with over 35 thoughtful indicators. It's designed to assist you in making informed, strategic, and long-term investment decisions. We're genuinely proud of what we've created here at BB, and we continually strive to improve it every day.